Almost,
I appreciate it. 5 minutes to the top of the hour right now. Turning to a wrap of your top stories of the morning, and the big story of the morning right now, the entire state of Hawaii under a tsunami advisory. It comes after a powerful 8.8 magnitude earthquake rocked a Russian peninsula last night. Ripple effects going across the Pacific. The first waves estimated to hit around 7 p.m. That was 3 a.m. here locally. As of right now, no reports of any major damage. Still dark there, as you can imagine. Officials have reported waves of nearly 6 feet tall. The very latest coming up on the Today Show.
the race for North Carolina Senate seat is a little less crowded this morning. Former Congressman Wiley Nickel announced he's dropping out. It came just a day after former Governor Roy Cooper launched his campaign. Nickel announced his run back in April, but was quickly overshadowed by Cooper, who many Democrats hoped would run. Nickel is now expected to endorse Cooper in the race.
This morning, area roadways for the most part are looking okay. A little bit of a backup there out towards Matthews, but you know how that goes. Everyone just heading towards Independence inbound. Otherwise, there's a look at those drive times, about 40 minutes from Gastonia out towards Charlotte. Chris.
All right, there it is. We have no weather alert days for heat, but we do have a weather alert for the back end of your Friday for a chance for flooding. After that, wow, either side of 80 degrees, feeling more like September for your Saturday and Sunday. What a switch, what a transition.
And a reminder, the news doesn't end here. Coming up at 7 a.m. over on WCNC Plus, the latest on that massive earthquake, triggering tsunami warnings across the Pacific. Plus, we're going to check in live with Richard Vane as he checks in to see how high school athletes are handling the heat. And we'll check in on the Panthers training camp coming up as that continues as well.
That starts in just a few minutes at 7. We hope that you'll join us there. Have a great Wednesday.
Hey, how are we?
I'm a little confused.
I was going to say, how are we done on time? I had no idea.
I heard him say
The very last one I heard. But
yeah, I heard the very last one. I heard the 1 minute, and after that, I don't know. But I think we got it all in.
streaming live right now at 7 a.m. right here on WCNC Plus. I'm Ben Thompson.
And I'm Lisa Washington. The big story this morning, that major earthquake in Russia triggering tsunami warnings for the U.S. Take a live look now. This is from Hawaii. A big sigh of relief. Just a couple of hours ago, officials downgraded the tsunami warning to a tsunami alert, an advisory actually. Those waves were expected to hit around 3 o'clock our time, 7 o'clock out west. So far, so good though. We of course will stay on top of any developments and give you more updates as we get them throughout the morning. Right now though, we want to get over to meteorologist Chris Mulcahy for more on our forecast here in the Carolinas.
And I'm happy to say it is trending down, but real quick, a couple of earthquake stats. This wasn't just any ordinary earthquake. 8.8, of course, is way up there as far as the Richter scale goes, but this is actually tied for the 6th largest earthquake all time in world history. Unbelievable there. So that's matching what happened in 2010 in Chile. And Chile is also where we had the worst one of all time. It was at 9.5. That brings us right around that great to total destruction criteria. However, this is known actually as a mega thrust, where it actually physically moved the bottom of the ocean floor, and that's why tsunamis were the biggest issues over there. A few injuries reported in Russia, but so far so good. Most people are reported as A-OK, at least for the near term. As far as our tsunami alerts, the tsunami advisory still goes for the Aleutian Islands down to over here in Hawaii until further notice, and also the Pacific coast. So the West Coast, all these areas that I just highlighted are going to be under that tsunami advisory, not just today, but also through Friday. And the reason why is there's still a chance for aftershocks. I've still seen 5.0 to 5.5 aftershocks over the last 12 hours. So it's still a really active zone over there. As far as the active start to the morning, it's really just because of the fog, down to a 0 around Hickory, Jefferson, and Salisbury. Most of the area is A-OK, but these areas are going to be problematic for the next hour or so before that fog will start to burn off. As far as the rain goes, we've had a little bit of rain just spiraling around here over to Florence and east of Columbia, around Manning, South Carolina. This is spitting a few showers up into Chesterfield County, but so far not much is really happening this morning. And then over the next 7 days, we're going to see a spike for a scattered possibility of thunderstorms this afternoon into the evening. We do it again Thursday afternoon into the evening, and then Friday, highest chances for rain. That's where it's most likely, as a cold front is blasting into the area. So on and off rain possible over the next 3 days. That's going to start to up our flood threat. Our hour-by-hour forecast, we're getting to the 90-degree point by the mid to late afternoon. However, some of us, if those storms are sticking around, that's going to put a cap on our warm-up. We got up to 94 degrees for kick temperatures back down into the 80s, and that's a good threshold. That realistically, even if you had a high of 90 degrees, if it starts raining, temperatures could immediately bottom out to around 82 to 85 degrees as that rain cooled air before temperatures start to recover after that rain clears out. Our futurecast showing our first signs of showers and storms right around 11 o'clock. So you're seeing a few of these green blips at 10. 11 to 2, we'll have some passing showers and storms. Very similar timing to what we had yesterday. Not everyone sees them. You're going to see an active sky, some of those darkening skies. Just listen out for Mother Nature's warning that thunder rolling in, especially late afternoon. During the evening commute, not everyone's going to see these, but you see these storms moving in each direction, colliding into one another. A lot of outflows forming in the storms on their own fruition, and then eventually winds down throughout the evening. Now for tomorrow, I think our storm chances are going to start in the mountains and the foothills between about noon to 2. Isolated storms still possible at that point, but it's a much better chance for showers and storms mid to late afternoon heading into the evening. That's a little bit more typical for this time of year, but the main reason why we're going to be so cool coming up is because of the cloud cover and the rain. That's not allowing us to get the ample sunshine. If we were still dealing with the clear sky, even with that heat dome breaking down, we would still be in the more mid-90s compared to barely getting to that 90-degree point for some spots. As for our Friday rain chance, this is where we have a better chance for some flooding. This is what you can expect. Starting in the mountains and the foothills, but slow moving storms where we could have some training one after another. And it's when they form a line like this that we're going to be keeping a watchful eye. So just keep in mind there's going to be a chance for blossoming storms each and every afternoon over the next 3 days. And once that front passes, boy, are we in for a big cool down. 79 on Saturday and then 66 on Sunday. That'll be the first below normal low that we've had since June 3rd. And then the mid 80s, still rocking them heading in the middle of next week. Let's get over to Majestic. Good morning. What's going on this morning?
Good morning, everyone. Well, keeping an eye on those roads. It's a beautiful start to the day, and thankfully we haven't had any big accidents really slowing people down for their Wednesday morning commute. Live look outside. This is I-77 out there in Gold Hill at Gold Hill. You can see traffic is flowing just all right. As we're taking a live look now, this is I-77 and I-85 actually out towards Graham, where traffic is also looking all right. Lots of sunshine out there as you're heading out the door, and our drive times again, nothing too out of the ordinary. Just about 23 minutes if you're coming in from Matthews and 26 if you're coming in from Belmont. Remember, we do have some of that dense fog that's in place, pockets of it, so just be ready for changing road conditions because surely not everyone is seeing it. Up towards Jefferson, Salisbury, out towards Albemarle, really limited visibility for some of us, including Hickory right there. Otherwise, big picture perspective, mainly green on my live traffic maps. We're starting to see our typical buildups though as we're looking here. I-77, you can see that red as people are heading inbound. Another area that I'm watching is out towards Matthews. I-485, again, a typical watch spot. No accidents, just more people waking up and heading out the door. And then we do still have this ongoing accident. It's at Pleasant Grove Road at Brookshire Boulevard. So continue to watch for that. I'm seeing this yellow pop up, meaning that some of those cars are being impacted as they go past it. So just drive with caution. We'll have another check on those roads coming up here shortly. Ben.
All right, Majestic, thanks. Back to that breaking news. Major relief as the National Weather Service has now downgraded the tsunami warning that was issued overnight. It happened after an 8.8 magnitude earthquake hit part of Russia. You can see here behind us, massive parts of the Russian coast are underwater.
The largest tsunami so far has been in Japan, where more than 2 million people are under evacuation orders. The extent of the damage is still unclear. Meanwhile, overnight, Hawaii officials told people the situation seems to be getting better for them, but they advised everyone to keep their guard up.
Everything has been okay so far. We haven't seen a big wave, but when that water receded in Haleiwa and we saw some boats kind of laying on the dry rock and sand, that gave us pause. That doesn't happen for no reason. When the water pulls back like that, that means there's activity in the ocean. So again, we keep our fingers crossed that we don't suffer a big tsunami. Again, people have been very thoughtful and very safe, and that's something we appreciate. We're really hoping that we are out of harm's way. Again, we don't want anyone to let their guard down. We want it to go another couple hours. As the waves cycle smaller and smaller, that's how we know that we're ending this concern.
Now, parts of Washington State and Oregon on alert as well. Experts explain how this tsunami threat is reaching so far. Take a listen.
Okay, so what we can observe from this kind of earthquake and tsunami that was generated by this earthquake is that we have a subduction zone and a tsunami that is looking directly or in front of the US. So what we should expect is that an important portion of the energy of the tsunami will be directed to this area, okay? And we should expect to see some moderate tsunami arriving to the United States. So as a recommendation to everyone, including me as a tsunami scientist, is to be far away from the coast, okay? We cannot go to the beach. We have to be very careful because this tsunami has energy and it can be damaging and it can be very dangerous to the people. So the most important recommendation is getting far away from the coast, okay? And just try to observe from our homes what is going on at the coast.
Good advice there. The good news, no deaths or injuries have been reported so far in the United States regarding this. Coming up at 7:30, we're going to hear from a Charlotte family in Hawaii right now.
Back here at home at 7:09 on WCNC Plus, 8 bills now law in North Carolina this morning after state lawmakers voted to overturn Governor Stein's recent vetoes. The new laws focus on stricter immigration crackdowns, looser gun rules, major changes to state energy policy, and a formal definition of gender to exclude transgender people. Later this morning, the House expected to override 3 more vetoes that would restrict DEI initiatives in the state government. Supporters say these bills ensure fairness. Other groups like the state NAACP speaking out against them.
We are going backwards, and it is discouraging. It may discourage industry from wanting to come here if they're of that mindset. Remember what happened to Target, and it is still going on.
We'll be keeping an eye on Raleigh all morning to find out when House lawmakers meet to overturn those vetoes later today. Not a live picture right now over Capitol Hill where President Trump's facing another tariff deadline. U.S. and Chinese negotiations ended 2 days of trade talks, but with no deal. It comes as the Federal Reserve meets today to consider interest rates. NBC's Alice Barr has the details this morning.
In a big week for the economy, all eyes are on the Federal Reserve and a highly anticipated decision this afternoon on whether to cut interest rates, as President Trump has been pressing for to boost the economy. Though most analysts expect the Fed to hold rates steady, wary of the potential for inflation, with a sweeping new round of tariffs set to hit on Friday. The Yale Budget Lab says product stockpiles have delayed many price increases for now.
What importers were trying to do was try to kind of pull in as much as they could into the economy in order to have to avoid the fact that ultimately they are going to have to raise prices.
While also projecting the tariffs will raise roughly $3 trillion for the U.S. over a decade. President Trump pointing to progress in one of the biggest outstanding trade negotiations with China, as the Treasury Secretary wrapped up talks without a deal, but with a possible extension to keep tariffs from shooting back up.
Well, either approve it or not, but he felt very good about the meeting. Better than he felt yesterday.
The president saying he intends to meet with China's president by the end of the year, as more European leaders voice frustration over the deal reached this week, setting a 15% tariff on most goods entering the U.S. from the European Union.
Dass es nicht so bleibt, wie es bisher war.
The German chancellor saying the tariffs will hurt both the German and American economies, as the French prime minister slammed the deal as an act of submission. Another key economic indicator coming on Friday, the July jobs report, with questions looming about the impact of the Trump administration's immigration crackdown and uncertainty over tariffs for U.S. businesses that import materials from abroad. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Approaching 7:13 now, and the ongoing heat is raising some serious concerns this morning for young athletes, especially with high school football practice kicking off today. WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane is live this morning. And Richard, we know that the teams are getting creative to make sure that these young athletes stay cool.
Absolutely correct, Lisa. Happy Wednesday to you. Good morning to those folks on the Plus watching us. You know, when it comes to playing football or just doing anything, practice makes perfect. Okay, practice makes perfect. I was gonna catch with one hand, but you know, I'll just do it to be safe today. And that's important also, being safe, especially in this heat. That's why schools like Huff High having these morning workouts. This is the way to beat the heat, having these workouts before the temperatures rise into those high 90s, possible triple digits like last week. So it's important also, the schools are also having a lot of water around so that students can keep themselves hydrated. This is just part of an ongoing trend that schools around our area are doing, having these early morning practices. Some schools having late evening practices starting like at 6 o'clock at night, 6 a.m., 6 p.m. That way they can get out their athletes out of the hot temperatures. And it's not just the football players here at Huff High. We see the cross-country team out here also working out. We see the soccer team was out here earlier also getting their workout on. And if you can't probably hear it, but in the distance off the field, we've got the band, the marching band. I was talking to Linda, our editor today. She was talking about her daughter out there practicing as well, not at Huff High School, but down there in South Carolina. But a lot of schools around the area are doing what they can to keep their student athletes safe, keep them just cool the best they can as they continue to practice, as they continue to get better. We were hoping to get the coach on, but he is getting ready for Media Day, which starts at 1 o'clock, and he's out here practicing, making sure his students are taken care of. Safety is always important. Now, Lisa, I'm just going to show you my skills. No, I'm not. No, I'm not, because you're going to make fun of me. Anyway,
I would never.
We'll send it back to you guys. We're here at Huff High and Cornelius. We'll send it back to you.
I can't say anything.
Again, never again, right? Okay.
No, I would never make fun of you.
Ben. It's always the newbies, Ben. It's
always, I know.
The newbies, Ben.
No respect.
I'm sure Richard has skills. I'm sure Richard has some skills.
No respect whatsoever. Okay.
Thank you, Richard.
Thanks, sir.
All right, well, the coaches aren't the only ones who are playing it safe in the heat. Local daycares and child care centers are also getting creative to keep the kids active and make sure they stay cool. Sometimes they limit the time outside, or they just keep the kids inside altogether.
We do indoor crafts, like we play kickball in the hallway. We have chalk, we have bubbles, we have fun games, and like with dominoes, and we give them prizes, whoever can count the highest in the, in the older classes and stuff, and just mainly just keep them as cool and occupied as we can.
Doctors stress the importance of child safety during the warm temperatures, since most kids don't know they are at risk, especially if they are having fun. Let's check in with Chris. Now, here's the thing. Even if we aren't talking about triple-digit temperatures, it's still pretty hot out there. So we got to make sure that we're staying cool and hydrated.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I don't want to overcomplicate things, but there's also something outside of the heat index and temperature. It's called the wet bulb temperature, the wet bulb global temperature. Actually, a lot of high schools and especially professional sports, such as I've interviewed some of the doctors at Charlotte FC, they use this all the time. And today's threshold is at that lower bound that after 45 minutes in direct sunshine, at that point you need to take a break. So that's where we're at today. A couple of days ago, we were around that 30 to 15 minutes. After that prolonged period in sunshine, you need to take a break. But luckily, it's a little bit lower for us today. So good for any of those athletes that are out there, including our own Richard Devane. And we also have some rain down here around Florence. Today's a much better day as far as temperatures go, but just like yesterday, it's going to have an ample amount of clouds. And that cloud cover is going to suppress our temperature a little bit, also bringing up that wet bulb temperature. It also measures how low our temperatures can go. So we could reach a minimum of 82 degrees today. Say if we hit a high of 90 degrees and it starts to rain, could quickly drop down 8 degrees before it starts to come back up. And our rain chances, I think, are really going to start to build as we get a little bit later on in the morning, heading into the afternoon. And then really from 11 till 8, you're going to have a chance for a passing shower or a storm. 92 degrees is the high that we have for today, 90 around Lancaster and Chirac, 89 for you in Hickory. Just depends where that rain is going to set up. Some of us will have a slightly warmer temperature, even challenging the mid-90s if you get a little bit more sunshine. But already we're dealing with a pretty thick fog in some places and also thicker cloud cover from place to place. Charlotte right now dealing with a nice little bit of sunshine. Any of that fog is going to erode really over the next couple of hours. And then we're starting to deal with those rain showers developing anywhere between about 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. They might sneak up on you. They're going to pop up real fast, and you can actually watch some of them starting to build in the upper atmosphere. And then by the mid to late afternoon, I think our isolated storm chances start to become a little bit more scattered. Notice 5 o'clock, we're seeing storms all across the area from Chirac up to Hickory, but not everyone's seeing storms at this point. I think they all start to converge, and we're exhausting the last of the energy as the sun is setting, and then we're rinsing and repeating pretty much each day going forward, because we're going to see a big transition, and rain will build. The more rain that you have in one area, and if you see it the next day and then heading on to day 3, that's going to lead to a better flood potential. So that's why day 3 of our extended forecast, we have a moderate threat or a medium threat for an excessive rain impact, or AKA a higher chance for some flash flooding. It's going to be also a prime environment on Friday that you can have training storms where one pops up after another. Well, check out these futurecast rain totals rolling forward over the next 3 days. The numbers admittedly are tough to read, but I'll read a few of them for you, trying to point it out, or let's just get rid of them in general. You're seeing a potential for some of us up in the mountains. This is no surprise that you could have anywhere from 3 to 5 inches when this is all said and done. This model even showing that some areas seeing even more than that. But the nature of these scattered showers and thunderstorms, you could see some areas in the green over the next 3 days. That's less than 1/10 of an inch. Meanwhile, other areas are dealing with 1 to 5 inches, just depending. So as a meteorologist, this forecast is pretty maddening, because I can't say, hey, you in Gaston County will see this, meanwhile you in Rowan County will see this. These storms have a mind of their own. They're going to do what they're going to do. Now, we do know that it's a little bit more controlled environment as far as when the rain arrives for your Friday, and the reason why is because we're timing out the front. That's why I think it's more late afternoon heading into the evening. You're going to have this front that passes, and then eventually the back side of this is going to create a classic cold air damming, allowing that cloud cover to prevent a lot of sunshine on Saturday, and it's also going to lock in some of those cooler temperatures. So we're going weather alert for the flash flood risk for your Friday afternoon and Friday evening, and that's training storms because we have that tropical air. And that's another thing to mention. We're actually going to raise the amount of moisture in the air. So even though temperatures are back down into the lower 90s, you can still feel like it's 100 degrees plus over the next 3 days because it's super muggy and super humid. I think you're especially going to notice the difference once you get to about Friday before things start to wedge in, but it's worth the price because once we get that front to clear, it still will feel a little humid, sticky, but it feels much better. Highs either side of 80 degrees, lows dropping down in the 60s back to the mid 80s by the middle of next week. So a pleasant start to the month of August. Majestic's even talking about bonfires and stuff like that.
I think so. I mean, I think I need to. It's been so hot and muggy. Why not? Plus, that's going to be a big difference in that drop in temperature. All right, let's get to it. Do you have some place to be this morning? If you do, we're seeing all of our typical backups starting to build. I-77 here at Gold Hill. It's a beautiful start to the day. You can see a lot more cars out on those area roadways. One thing that I'm noticing, though, this is I-77 just north of Griffith. There's a little bit of patchy fog out there. That's been a part of the weather story this morning and the traffic story. It's also just kind of reducing down visibility for some of our locations, especially up in the mountains. Up there in Jefferson, hard to even see. Hickory, much of the same, even out towards Albemarle. So make sure you're just mindful of that. A lot of us seeing sunny skies at this point, but there are some pockets where it will reduce down visibility, making for difficult travel at times. Otherwise, live traffic map looking okay. We do have some areas shaded in red and orange, just indicating those backups are building. Seeing that along I-77, much of the same. 485 out towards Matthews. Again, no accidents there, just more people heading in the same direction. The one ongoing accident is right here. It's on Pleasant Grove Road at Brookshire Boulevard. I'll keep a close eye on that for you.
Across North Carolina, that would be southeast of Concord, just to the southwest of Albemarle. It is in Stanley County, and right there at the intersection of 205 and 24. Then back before those highways were paved, it was nothing but red clay. So at the crossing, Red Cross, that's why it's named that. And the facts on Red Cross over in Stanley County: population 762, square miles 3.73. So our tiny town today is Red Cross in Stanley County. I'm Larry Sprinkle.
Defense.
Our Danielle Stein talked one-on-one with the rookie linebacker Princely Malin.
Came out on the first day, made a big play that got a lot of people's heads turning when you had that strip sack on Bryce Young. Did you come into camp with that mentality that you wanted to just make your mark really quick?
Yeah, for sure. I always have big expectations for myself, like from the goals I had set for myself in college to now. I've always just wanted to always do big things, you know what I'm saying?
Even from draft night, I listened back to your calls with Dan Morgan, Dave Canales. You said, what took you so long? And in a couple years, you're going to want to break your pockets. Yeah. Where does this confidence come from?
I don't know, man. I think it comes from my God-given ability, you know what I'm saying? And just having confidence in my game and just going out there and putting my product and putting the work in. I think that's where it comes from, just putting the work in and God.
Has that always been part of you since you were in high school and college, between your time at Florida and then at Ole Miss? Or?
To be honest, I wouldn't say so. I would say it probably came to me around my freshman year of college when I got to college, and I realized, like, my first day of practicing, I was like going crazy, and I just realized what type of talent I had. I guess that's when it started.
Seems like the fans, though, are taking a liking to the energy that you're bringing. There's another famous Panther who had a pretty good aura, Cam Newton, and you were defending him the other day. What about Cam's personality and persona on the football field do you like that maybe you want to take into your own game?
Man, Cam was just a natural leader, and he just pulled in the fans. He just like me, he acts like he's a human being, you know what I'm saying? A lot of football players are just famous people in general, you know, are always standoffish when it comes to the fans and like behind the scenes, but you know, he interacts with everyone, and he's just a leader, and I just think he's one of the greatest to ever do it.
There's more of Danielle's conversation with Princely and other players from training camp.
And you can find more coverage right here on WCNC Plus or the WCNC Charlotte mobile app. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but make sure you keep it right here on WCNC Plus. We'll be back with another check on weather and traffic, as well as the day's top headlines.
Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to say that we have no heat advisories. It's a nice little change of tune. 76 degrees current temperature. Feeling humid. It's going to be a muggy day, even more so I think in the last few. So 90 could still feel like 100 degrees. So you're going to be feeling it, but you're also going to have some storms that could kick those temperatures easily down into the lower to the mid 80s as we progress. Here's a look at our futurecast. First signs of storms around the Charlotte area, I think happening anywhere between about 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. So similar timing to yesterday. And then they're scattered throughout the afternoon. And this is also going to trend into the evening as well. So just watch for passing storms. They should be out of our hair and winding down by about 9 to 10 o'clock. This is also the start of our excessive rain threat. We'll have a better chance for flash flooding, especially by the end of the day Friday. Let's head over to Majestic for your morning commute.
Good morning, everyone. It's a beautiful start to the day for most of us. This is I-85 out towards Graham Street. Right now, traffic is flowing nice and smooth as people are waking up and starting their Wednesday morning commute. Remember, we do have pockets of dense fog, especially up towards the mountain locations, Jefferson out towards Hickory, so be ready for changing road conditions as you do head out for your morning commute. I-77, we're starting to see those backups. No accidents, just a lot of people heading in the same direction. Similar setup there out towards 45 and Matthews. Take it easy and have a fantastic Wednesday. We'll have more coming up on WCNC Plus. Thanks for streaming live on WCNC Plus at 7:30. I'm Lisa Washington.
And I'm Ben Thompson. And folks, breathing a little easier this morning. The National Weather Service now downgrading the tsunami warning that lasted all night. That tsunami triggered by a powerful 8.8 magnitude earthquake in Far East Russia, one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded.
Take a look at some video. This is from Hawaii yesterday. You can see the traffic jam there. People having to leave their homes and businesses after reported waves of nearly 6 feet and warnings that they could get larger over the next several hours. Now, we talked to a Charlotte family in Hawaii. They described the moments the tsunami sirens went off.
Everyone is on the road right now. We're just trying to get back to our hotel. We're on like the 11th floor, so we should be good. The waves don't seem like they're going to be too powerful, but we really have no idea. But the roads are really crazy right now. Everyone's on the roads. So in the past like 20 minutes, we moved 0.4 miles. It is, let me see, can I flip the camera on a zoom? Is that a thing?
Yes.
Yeah. It is backed up. It is like, the traffic is really crazy here.
Tell us about when you found out about this alert and what was going through your mind when you realized you're here on vacation, but something serious is potentially going to happen.
So we were on the north shore of Oahu, like literally at the beach. And then we all got the iPhone alarms, like they sounded the noise and everything. And we just got in the car and it said tsunami warning. And then we looked at the news, we saw it was going to be here by 7. So we just decided let's go back to our hotel and get up to like some safe high ground.
But have you gotten any official guidance, such as, contact from your hotel itself or emergency officials out there saying maybe you need to go somewhere else?
I don't know about any like direct contact from the hotel, but we have heard emergency sirens going off. I think they said they're going to play sirens every hour. So 4:10, they played a siren like outside the window. I could hear it super loudly. And then they'll play one at 5:10, 6:10, and then 7:10 is when they expect the tsunami waves to hit. So they'll keep it going every hour to just continue to warn the citizens.
By the way, we should say, even as we speak right now, some of these waves hitting the western part of the U.S., including California. 16 minutes ago, NBC News reporting that a 3.5-foot wave hit Crescent City, recorded as the biggest wave ever there. Still no reports of any serious damage yet or injuries, but to give you an idea, this is very much still an ongoing thing.
And I know you've been getting some more research about tsunamis because, of course, this was very unexpected, especially being on vacation in Hawaii, and then you get the alert on your phone, tsunami warning.
Well, the good news is since it was so far away, you have plenty of warning time for those that are on Hawaii. So, for example, typical tsunami moves at 500 miles per hour. So that's why they had a general track that is about a 3,000-mile travel for it to get to Hawaii from the epicenter. So that was the ample warning that they had. And yeah, the peak that I saw was about 4 feet, and I didn't see the actual data as a potential wave up to 7 feet in Hawaii, but I can confirm one up to 4 feet there. So it could have been a lot worse, but the worst part about this is sometimes you can have aftershocks that are just as big. So the big one that happened at 7:24 p.m. was that 8.8 magnitude earthquake, but I want to show you everything that's happened over the last 24 hours. These are all the earthquakes in the area that are over a 4.5 in magnitude. So that's staggering. So that's why you always have to remember, it's oftentimes not just one, it's multiple that happen with this. And if we had a 4 magnitude earthquake of 4.5, well, that would be one of the strongest that we've had here in the Carolinas in years. The one that happened back in 2020 in Sparta, North Carolina, that was about a 4.1, 4.2. And you're seeing these pretty much every hour or half hour right around this section in this Russian peninsula here. And this is also historic too. We're not just talking about Russian history or Pacific history. I'm talking about world history. The largest earthquakes of all time, this actually ties for the 6th spot, tying the one that happened in 2010 in Chile. And then the worst one, a magnitude of 9.5, happened in 1960 in Chile as well. And I've also seen several reports of up to about a 5 magnitude earthquake off of South America. Not a big issue there, and there's no tsunami warnings that are going to be associated with that. Usually has to be a little bit higher here on the Richter scale. But check this out. If this had happened on land, this would be absolutely devastating. That one of these happening on land, close to a 9, is near total destruction. That's the verbiage here, because the equivalency of 1 trillion pounds of explosives. That's how much energy it is. But the rarity, regardless of being on land or coming from the ocean, and this is bottom of the ocean floor that literally the bottom of the ocean thrusts upwards. So that's the reason why you had the tsunami warnings, and you'll have the tsunami advisories going forward, just in case there is another one of a similar strength. But this is a rare event. It's 8.8, not quite 9, but this happens every 9 to 10 years, one of this strength. So a big rarity here, and that's why everyone is on guard. The Aleutian Islands here in Alaska for the rest of the work week. Same thing around Hawaii. As we mentioned, this was a tsunami warning at one point, and then also the Pacific coast here along the United States, where those waves finally just got there. Again, traveling about 500 miles per hour, so there's a good chance that you can track it because it is so far away. And of course, there's the near terms, and everything is going to be spreading out in generally this way across the Pacific. Even some areas in South America could have the impacts as well, just not as high as some of the near islands of Alaska, Hawaii, and of course our Pacific coast. As for our forecast, we're talking about visibility, so a big difference from epic earthquakes. Zeros for our visibility is right here around Hickory and Salisbury, and then about a half mile around Albemarle. As far as the rain goes, it's trying to rain. It's just been hovering down here around South Carolina and Florence. This is actually a trough that's trying to fire up some rain, and our rain chances are definitely coming up compared to where they were. When you have that heat dome, it really suppresses a lot of the rain. Now that has cleared, it's kind of breaking things and allowing the cap to explode. So oftentimes when it's that warm, you have to wait for the cap to break, and we are actively seeing that, and that's why yesterday, as early as 10 to 11, we had storms that are starting to blossom across the area. And I think by noon, we're going to have 1 or 2 storms released around the 485 loop. The problem with this is it could be a difference of a mile that you have a downpour to nothing at all, where Mother Nature could be giving your warning with some rumbles of thunder. Just keep an eye out that it could rain really quick, or it could also rain up to 45 minutes on and off through the afternoon heading into the evening. I have a high of 92, but some of us, I would not be surprised, do not get to that 90-degree point, depending if you get that rain early and don't have enough time to warm up, because once you get the rain, clouds are going to be on the mostly cloudy side really for a good portion of the afternoon, much like yesterday, and it just depends where you are. Say Matthews could have up to, say, 3/4 of an inch to an inch of rain. Meanwhile, if you live in northeast Charlotte or around Concord, you could have barely anything at all. So it's going to be a difference from mile to mile what we're going to see as far as how much rain you see, or if anything at all. Here's our futurecast. Let's roll through today at least. Scattered showers and storms, as I mentioned, by the early afternoon, really starting to build, especially the further west that you go by the mid to late afternoon hours. And we're going to keep our storm chances around as late as 10 o'clock, and then we rinse and repeat going forward. We're rocking either side of 90 degrees, depending where you are across the greater Charlotte area today, tomorrow, and Friday. Some much needed relief, 79, 82, 83, 85, feeling more like September for some of the first days of August. Let's go over to traffic for Majestic. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a beautiful start to the day, so we'll take it. Temperatures right now 76 degrees, lots of sunshine. You can see this is a live look outside as you're heading out to maybe start your morning commute. First things first, still nothing that's majorly impacting a lot of people. So some good news there, not slowing people down too much. Again, there's a live look outside. One thing that's interesting is in that live look, it was beautiful. There was so much sunshine, but remember, we still do have dense pockets of fog out there. Up towards Jefferson, we're seeing that even low visibility out through Hickory, even Albemarle, so make sure you're just mindful of that you could have sunny skies and all of a sudden it's difficult to see as you're traveling this morning. Area roadways, for the most part, look all right east of Charlotte, but we are starting to see our typical slowdowns right there along I-77 coming in from York County. No accidents, just again, a lot of people heading in the same direction inbound, whether you're taking I-77 or perhaps Independence, Matthews, 485, those slowdowns are on. One active accident that still has not been cleared, it's right here. It's at Pleasant Grove Road at Brookshire Boulevard, seeing some yellow still popping up, meaning that there are some medium impacts. And then right here, we're starting to still see that traffic build on I-77. You can see really coming towards uptown from I-77 up towards areas like Lake Norman. I-85, much of the same. That's what I'm looking at now, Lisa. We'll have another check on those roads coming up here in just a few.
All right, Majestic, that sounds good. Happening today, neighbors in Sugar Creek are going to gather for a community town hall. They're calling on local leaders to step up and address the crime, drugs, and prostitution that have plagued the area for years. This is video from a rally along Sugar Creek Road earlier this month. We spoke with organizers who say frustration is running high and they're tired of seeing their streets overrun with crime and neglect.
You know, we understand that mental illness is a problem in our city. We understand that homelessness is a problem in our city, but you were right in somebody's backyard, and we just can't have it.
In an effort to curb crime, Charlotte's Mayor Pro Tem tells us they've added cameras, lighting, sidewalks, even shut down a few hotels. Tonight's town hall is happening at the Sugar Creek Rec Center at 6.
Well, students in South Carolina now just days away from heading back to school. And in Clover, teachers just got back together for their convocation and they are excited for the new year.
I sat down recently with the superintendent, Dr. Sheila Quinn, to hear about the benefits they offer teachers in order to recruit and to retain them. Clover did what hadn't been done in the county with the starting salary of $50,000 for teachers. That speaks volumes. I know it's not a one-person effort, but also with retaining teachers, with recruiting teachers, when they see that $50,000, I mean, that's some money.
That is, and it's certainly something we'd like to continue to grow on. We have an initiative called Destination District, We want to be a place where people want to come, and so from a recruitment standpoint, but more importantly, they want to stay. So that move was a part of our Destination District initiative. We also did pay raises for all of the other job categories as well. So everybody got a little bit. We did focus more heavily on our teachers that year, and it's something that our board would like to continue to do over time.
How does this school year look as far as like staffing positions with teachers, other staff?
We're almost fully staffed. We have a couple of special ed positions that we're still trying to interview for, but we really do benefit from our location at the top of the state. We can recruit out of Gaston. We can sometimes recruit out of Charlotte when teachers retire and want to come and still work. So that's a solution for us to be on the border. And we get a lot of from Winthrop and a lot of the in-state colleges that teachers want to move up and be around Charlotte. So we tend to be a district they look at.
Is that the biggest challenge? Was recruiting teachers? Like, what are some of the biggest challenges?
We've done pretty well on the recruitment side. I can honestly tell you that the retention side is really where we need to focus now, because again, teachers have options. They move, they get married, they have their own families, and so we really have to work hard to keep the incentives in place that will keep them. So for example, our teachers can bring their children here to work, to school here, so that when they come to work, their children can come to work. We have the largest 4K program in the area, so we have over 320 full-day 4K children.
Wow.
So every school has 2 to 4 pre-K classes, and that's a benefit when your children can start in pre-K. We really work hard. We hire more teacher assistants than any district around us, which there's secret sauce in that. When you have support and help as a teacher, you're not alone in the classroom, that's an incentive to keep working here.
A lot of great things happening in the Clover School District. We also talked about AI in the classroom, growth in that district. It's really growing, and parent involvement. Now you can catch the full interview coming up on our live Impact News right here on WCNC Plus starting at 9 this morning. And a reminder, the school year is right around the corner. Unfortunately, though, many students begin the year without necessary supplies. That's why we are partnering with United Way for a back-to-school supply drive. You can scan that QR code that you see right there on your screen to donate, or you can go to our website, wcnc.com/community. You can donate until August 11th.
Speaking of schools, a major announcement about a new version of ChatGPT. This one specifically designed for college students learning. But will it mean the end of students using AI to do the work for them? Here's NBC's Savannah Sellers.
It's called Study Mode, the newest tool from OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, the artificial intelligence chatbot that since bursting onto the scene in November 2022,
AI has made cheating incredibly easy. It's a cheater's dream.
Has frustrated college professors like Duke University's Oren Starn.
How much has AI impacted your classroom?
It's had a huge impact. What I've been starting to see is more and more students handing in assignments that were all or partly written by AI.
But OpenAI CEO Sam Altman says higher ed needs to change.
And I already think college is maybe not working great for most people.
And today, his company says Study Mode is designed to help students learn something, not just finish something.
Here's how it works. If you've used ChatGPT before, you provide it with a prompt. I need a 500-word essay on Orwell's 1984. It immediately gives you the essay. Now, in this new mode, if you click on Study and Learn, ask it the same thing, it's not just going to spit the exact essay out for you. It's going to go about it more like a tutor, saying, before we jump in, can you tell me a little bit about the assignment, asking me questions to help me write it.
Wall Street Journal tech columnist Joanna Stern says the choice is now in users' hands.
There's nothing stopping a student from getting the answer. That cat is out of the bag. There are so many AI tools that will provide the answer for you.
Or a learning version. OpenAI competitor Anthropic launched a similar tool to Study Mode back in April for institutions. AI already a huge part of education. A recent Gallup poll shows 6 in 10 teachers use it as a tool for their work. And startups like the Alpha School use AI software to power core curriculum as early as kindergarten.
Artificial intelligence is sort of the future, whether we like it or not. I think it's something that is already a part of our lives on a daily basis.
The issue now, how students will choose to use it.
Well, we are learning more this morning about efforts to contain a TB case in Avery County. Yesterday, we told you health officials believe upwards of 100 people may have been exposed. Well, right here on WCNC Plus, we spoke with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services about what typically comes next.
TB can be so dangerous. We do take it very seriously when we have an active case, and we talk to that individual about where they've been, who they've spent time with, and identify those people who have spent a significant amount of time with them during their infectious period. And because the symptoms of TB can be very similar to the symptoms of other respiratory conditions, sometimes people can be sick for a while before they get diagnosed, and this can lead to a lot of exposures.
You can watch that entire conversation and more right here on WCNC Plus.
With all this hot weather, one thing that you'll hear people say a lot is to make sure that you drink enough water.
So people are asking us, can you drink too much water? WCNC Charlotte's Megan Bragg verifies.
Most of us have heard we should drink 8 glasses of water a day. With this heat, is that enough water? And can you hydrate too much? Let's verify.
Our source is cardiologist Dr. Pyle Coley and the Mayo Clinic. According to the Mayo Clinic, water makes up about 50 to 70% of our body weight. Water also keeps your temperature normal, lubricates and cushions joints, and protects sensitive tissue. But Dr. Coley says many may not need the traditional 8 glasses.
Every day should not necessarily be the same amount. It should be adjusted up and down based on what you're doing.
So where does the standard 8 glasses of water come from?
That 8 glasses of water came from the fact that, based on a 2,000 calorie diet, for about every calorie that you consume, you need about 1 milliliter of water. That's about 2 liters or about 8 glasses.
Coley says the best way to tell if you're getting enough water in your system is the color of your urine.
It should be very light color. If it's starting to get dark yellow, that means you're not drinking enough.
It also depends on your activity level and if you are in a warm environment. The Mayo Clinic states most healthy people stay hydrated by drinking water and other fluids whenever they feel thirsty. For some people, fewer than 8 glasses a day might be enough, but others may need more. Dr. Coley says you can actually get water poisoning if you drink too much.
You drink so much water that you dilute out the salt in your blood.
With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
Well, good morning, everybody. Well, check out last weekend compared to this weekend. So this is the big point that I want to make here. Just wow. July 26th, we hit 101, and 102 is the high that we had on Sunday, July 27th. Well, this weekend, I have a high of 79 on Saturday and 82 degrees on August 3rd, aka this Sunday. So just a powerful cold front, and it's also going to bring down our mugginess as well. But I want to really talk about these temperatures and really where they compare for this time of the year. Check this out. So Saturday with a high of 79, that's actually the average high that we usually have on September 28th. So I've been mentioning, hey, we have a September-like cool down. Well, you can see it right there. As for the low on Sunday, that's significant because that's actually going to be our first below normal low that we've had since June 3rd. And I think even the low of 69 on Saturday is going to be in the same realm as well. But regardless, 66 is where we should be around September 2nd. As for today, it's not just July 30th, but it's also National Cheesecake Day, National Share Hug Day, and National Paperback Book Day. Today's going to start to look a little bit gloomier as you're working your way through the afternoon. I think that you're going to have on and off showers and thunderstorms starting as early as 11, and it's really tough to time where they're going to be at what point. That even using the 485 loop for an example, storms are going to be passing by that loop on and off throughout the day, so you can't even pin even on a smaller spectrum where they're going to be at what time. Just anticipate storms to be on and off, but it's not going to be raining at all hours of the day. As far as our dew point trend, we've been overall around that very muggy to humid air. We did hit that beautiful, breathtaking pick of the week last Wednesday, if you can remember it, before we really cranked up the heat. It was super comfortable that day, but I am happy to say that at least by your Sunday heading into Monday, that we're going to see a big downturn as far as our dew points go. And that's also another reason why we're going to be so much on the cooler side. So it's going to feel a little bit better. At most, it's just going to have some sticky air before you're going to start to see it return. So it's going to be a nice little break that we're seeing overall. Here's what we got for our 7-day forecast, not really too much to mention outside of the big cool down. 79, 82, 83, and then 85, as I mentioned. On and off scattered showers and thunderstorms are going to be a possibility, really, especially today for your Thursday heading into Friday. But I do have to mention that because of a potential stationary front that's going to stall across the area, that's why we have an elevated flood threat. So in the near term, we have that front that's slowly pushing its way a little bit closer to home. The reason why we have a storm threat today is we have a little trough that's starting to wedge up, that's allowing storms to push in from the southeast, developing the foothills from the northwest. Tomorrow's timing is a little bit more indicative of this low pressure system that's driving winds out of the southwest and the westerly direction. That's why I think storms are going to wait a little bit longer, really around that 2 o'clock time frame. And then eventually, once this cold front pushes into the area, we're shifting winds out of the northwest, but it starts to stall out heading into the weekend. Then I think we have less rain heading into your Saturday, but since this slowing system is going to slow down our storms in general, we're going to have a chance for some training storms overall. So that's why we do have an elevated flash flood risk, and that's why we're weather alert for the second half of the day. Here's a look over the next 3 days. We have a low chance for flash flooding today and tomorrow. Friday is the only one that has that medium threshold, and then it drops off heading into the weekend along with our temperatures. Again, 79 on Saturday, highs in the lower 80s Sunday heading into next week. Let's get over to Majestic to see if anything's changed for our morning commute.
Good morning, everyone. Well, not too bad. It's been actually a pretty quiet start to our Wednesday morning. It's 7:52 right now. Definitely seeing more cars out on those roads as people are waking up, heading out. Those cars are actually moving. One thing to know, though, before you head out, if you do have some place to be right now, we do have the left lane that's blocked on Brookshire Freeway. The inner loop at North Graham Street, there's a disabled vehicle. So again, the left lane blocked. It's just backing people up a little bit as they're heading out the door. Otherwise, a couple of things to let you know about. It's beautiful outside for a lot of us. We're seeing sunny skies, but remember, we're still dealing with a little bit of patchy fog, especially up toward Jefferson, Hickory, Concord, Albemarle. So be mindful of that when you're traveling today because, well, most of the time you'll probably want some sunglasses. In other locations, you might need to slow it down because that fog is so dense it makes it difficult to see at times. I-77 inbound, you can see it is red. It is definitely starting to back up. Much of the same out towards Matthews if you're taking Independence. No accidents there so far, so hopefully we can keep it that way. Still this ongoing wreck, still not cleared. It's here at Pleasant Grove Road and Brookshire Boulevard, but still not seeing any significant slowdowns, mainly green, so we'll take that for now. Otherwise, the loop from 85 to 77 heading towards Uptown. Look at all of that red. It's going to be a slow morning commute for you. Lisa, this is what I'm looking at for now. We'll have another chat coming up here in just a few.
All right, Majestic, thanks so much. Well, trending this morning, it is official. There's a new couple in Hollywood. Pamela Anderson and Liam Neeson are now dating after sparking a romance on the set of their new movie, The Naked Gun. Monday, the two hit the red carpet at the film's premiere in New York City, each bringing their sons along. The Naked Gun is a reboot of the classic police comedies you may remember from the 1980s and 90s. Neeson stars as the son of the original main character from the first three films. The movie hits theaters August 1st.
I kind of like them as a couple.
I'm okay with it.
They've both been around, both dated other people.
Yep.
Maybe they found happiness together. Well, speaking of, have you ever heard the term, probably so, happy wife, happy life? Yes,
Yep.
you have. Okay, well, evidently same applies to girlfriends. And a new study suggests that women are always right, especially in arguments. I don't get this.
Well, you're not a woman, so
That's
it's
true.
okay.
And I'm not married to one either. Studies show that women consistently score higher in emotional intelligence, empathy, and emotional awareness, traits that allow them to process conflict and respond better than men.
I agree.
Of course you agree. I saw you nodding your head word
Lisa's
one
like,
of this when you said
Majestic,
I'm
you're with
skeptical.
me, right?
I'm skeptical of any serious, like, scientific group that would come out with a finding like that.
Is it that we're always right or almost always right?
It's
Because I'll go with the almost.
It's almost always. But you
Sure.
would agree, Majestic. I feel like sometimes the guys don't like stay on task when you're having a
Yes.
conversation.
100%. Or they're just confused.
What's happening?
No, it's most of the time.
Why do we
I don't
need
even
to
know where I'm
talk?
at
I
right
wouldn't
now.
even disagree with that. I just would, still not sure you're always right.
No,
All right.
I've actually learned that Kim is right more than wrong.
At least you realize that.
Maybe 90%, and yeah, no. So.
All right. Live pictures over Uptown. Keep it right here on WCNC Plus this morning and all day long.
Well, good morning, everybody. High temperatures right around 90 degrees, the lower 90s across the area. We're going to have a mix of cloud and sunshine. Deal with some sunshine for the time being right now, but then we'll have a lot more clouds like what we had yesterday afternoon. I think you can see a storm as early as 11 to 1. That's the first signs of them, especially up in the mountains and the foothills. And then you start to see a busier map as you work our way through the afternoon. More clouds starting to cloud up our skies and horizon. And this is pretty much the forecast that we have going forward over the next few days. More clouds, more rain chances, and that's bringing our temperatures down. That's also going to elevate our flood threat. Excessive rain impacts low over the next couple of days, a moderate by your Friday. So we're going weather alert for the flash flood potential by the end of the day on Friday with slow moving storms. Then a stationary front keeps clouds around, only a high of 79 on Saturday, feeling more like September to start off the month of August. Let's head over to Majestic, see how our morning commute's faring.
Good morning, everyone. It's a nice start to the day for most of us. Traffic is flowing just fine as you're heading out the door. Already feeling like it's 82 degrees, though. One thing to let you know about is that the left lane is currently blocked on Brookshire Freeway. The inner loop at Graham Street, there's a disabled vehicle, so it might slow you down just a few extra minutes. Really, this is what I'm following very carefully. The left lane is blocked because of a crash on I-485 northbound before exit 4. That's Still Creek Road. You can see that back up there. We'll have more coming up on WCNC Plus. See you there.
Streaming live right now at 8 a.m. right here on WCNC Plus. I'm Ben Thompson.
And I'm Lisa Washington. The ongoing heat is raising some serious concerns this morning for young athletes, especially with high school football practice scheduled to kick off today.
Yep, they've actually kicked off just in the last couple of hours. And WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane now live out there with them. He is practicing, as you can see. Richard, are you staying safe in the heat?
Hey, guys. Yes, it's nice and cool. I've been hydrated. I've been taking my time. I worked up a little sweat, but not as bad as I could have if I was out here in midday. You know, this is a smart thing that a lot of high schools in our area are doing, having these early morning practices. This particular practice, the Huff High School Huskies started their football practice at 6 o'clock this morning, actually getting onto the field after the soccer team had its practice. And now we've also seen the cross-country folks out here. We know the band is not far away. All of these teams are getting these early morning practices in to beat the heat. It's a very smart idea. A lot of schools are doing that. Even some schools in the CMS district are also having their practices this afternoon, like at 6 o'clock, right? What time is that? Who's having it? Garinger is one of the schools. That's correct. Garinger is having their practice at 6 o'clock. All this in an effort to make sure the students are safe, because, you know, those heat-related injuries and things that happen, heat exhaustion, things like that can happen, especially when these temperatures get really up there. Last week we had triple-digit temperatures, and of course coaches still want to have that practice time, that valuable practice time, and there's nothing like a good practice when you don't work up a sweat. But if it gets so hot, it's hard to do that and concentrate, and also you need to be safe. So this is what schools are doing. We were going to speak with the coach. We'll have to catch up with him a little bit later, because today's media day, so a lot.
All right, we'll check back in with Richard momentarily.
I wasn't sure if it was Richard or if it was me.
Same thing.
Okay, so Richard, you've been so hard at work, we've actually lost your microphone, because I mean that's how intense your training's been, which you understand and you're nodding to because you know it yourself. You've gone through it. All right, Richard, we'll check back in with you in just a minute.
All right, now let's check in with Chris to find out more about our forecast. I mean, he's really working up a sweat out there because he's probably teaching those high school players a thing or two about football.
Probably so.
Oh, 100%. And luckily it's a better environment, because it was a couple of days ago that we already had a heat index that was well into the 80s. And it was a bigger stress to the body when we had that heat wave and that heat dome over us. Now we actually have a better environment for showers to build and thrive. We're dealing with some sunny skies for the time being, but we're eventually going to see a big change. Here it is, our day and nighttime rain chances. You can see those bars are much higher to around that scattered to widespread range today through Friday night. And it's Friday and Friday night that have the best flood potential for the short term. And then after that, we're going to see a big dip in our rain chances and also an even bigger dip in our temperatures. So let's get right to it. Our futurecast showing any sign of storms at between about 1 to 2 is where I think that they're really starting to jump. But as early as 11 to 1 is we're starting to see them around the Charlotte area and the I-77 corridor. You're seeing a much busier map by the mid to late afternoon. And then these storms have to go to the point until they're exhausted, and that usually doesn't happen until a couple hours after the sun sets. So that's why we can keep our storm chances around through the middle of this evening. Then by tomorrow, we could have more patchy, dense fog. We had a lot this morning, so get ready for some foggier mornings. It's going to be foggy, it's going to be misty in some spots, and also super humid, because that dew point is actually coming up over the next couple of days before it dips back down to a more comfortable level for the weekend. By tomorrow noon, I think we should be storm free, but then we start to see them build again right around that 2 o'clock hour. So it's really after 2 more so tomorrow, the way things are trending. Same thing goes mid to late afternoon is where things become a lot more scattered heading into the evening, and then we rinse and repeat into your Friday. Now Friday looks a little bit more on the different side, because we have a front, another player that comes in. That cold front is going to control the really volume of storms that we see. I think the usual pop-ups are going to be a possibility. Winds still generally out of the west-southwest at that point, but we can have what's called training storms. One builds after another. Whenever you have a cold front, it allows for more lift. And if this front is especially moving slow, because it looks like it's starting to screech on the brakes to the Charlotte area, that's going to give us a better chance for flooding. Because look at this is 7 o'clock. You're looking at a line of storms where some areas could see well over 3 inches of rain when this is all said and done. So that's why we're staying weather alert for the back end of the forecast. As far as our forecast today, 90, feeling like as much as 100 with that on and off rain chance. And then going forward, you can just expect a chance for a flooding rain building each day. So a low chance for flooding today and tomorrow, but then Friday is the only one that the entirety of our area is under a medium threshold for a chance for that flash flooding as that front is building its way down towards the south. 7-day forecast, weather alert for just the back half, but we have no weather alert days for heat, thank goodness. No heat advisories in sight at least over the next 8 to 14 days. Temperatures down to 79 on Saturday. That's incredible. 79 is actually more like a late September day. It's going to be on the cloudy side. Seeing sunshine start to build back in on Sunday and Monday. Mid 80s on Tuesday. We should be back to around the climatological average of 90 degrees by the end of next week. So a nice little break. I know Majestic's excited about it.
I am excited, especially for those cooler overnight lows. It's been so hot consecutively now, so I think a lot of people are looking forward to it. Here we go. If you're heading out the door this morning, A few things to let you know about. Let's get to it, because first things first, I want to take you up to I-85. That's where we are following this ongoing accident. It's on I-85 impacting northbound lanes at Graham Street. That's exit 40. The two left lanes right now are currently blocked because of a crash. You can see that back up there, but this is actually a live look. You know, it looks like it actually just cleared, so that's good news for you. If you typically take I-85, then looks like that is actually clearing at this point. Another thing that I'm following, though, is a stalled vehicle. Right now, the left lane is currently blocked because of it. It's on the Brookshire Freeway southbound at exit 4. That's 10th Street over there, so I'll continue to keep a close eye on that one. And then this one is going to be problematic for you. Right now, it is a left lane that's blocked because of a crash. It's on I-485, so we already know I-485 is typically a very busy spot, so not helpful when we have a crash. Northbound lanes right before exit 4, that's Still Creek Road. You can see that back up there even as we zoom it on out, so we'll continue to follow that for you very carefully. Hopefully they can get that cleared pretty fast. I-45 out towards Pineville looks all right. Starting to see those slowdowns get worse actually out towards Matthews, the inner loop, but again, no crash, just kind of our typical morning watch spot. And then another lane is blocked because of a stalled vehicle. It's on I-77 southbound at exit 25 Sanford Road. We'll keep a close eye on all of this for you, but right now that's what I have my eyes on. Ben.
All right, Majestic, thanks. 8:07 now, back to breaking news out of the Pacific. Some major relief as the National Weather Service has now downgraded the tsunami warning that was issued last night. It happened after an 8.8 magnitude earthquake hit part of Russia. You can see this video here behind me, parts of the Russian coast now underwater.
That's right. It's the largest tsunami so far. In fact, in Japan, more than 2 million people are under evacuation orders. The extent of that damage, though, is unclear. Meanwhile, we know that overnight, Hawaii officials told people the situation there seems to be getting better for them, but they have advised everyone to keep their guard up.
Everything has been okay so far. We haven't seen a big wave, but when that water receded in Haleiwa and we saw some boats kind of laying on the dry rock and sand, that gave us pause. That doesn't happen for no reason. When the water pulls back like that, that means there's activity in the ocean. So again, we keep our fingers crossed that we don't suffer a big tsunami. Again, people have been very thoughtful and very safe, and that's something we appreciate. We're really hoping that we are out of harm's way. Again, we don't want anyone to let their guard down. We want it to go another couple hours. As the waves cycle smaller and smaller, that's how we know that we're ending this concern.
Now parts of the West Coast, including Washington State and Oregon, on alert as well. Experts explain now how the tsunami threat is reaching so far.
Okay, so what we can observe from this kind of earthquake and tsunami that was generated by this earthquake is that we have a subduction zone and a tsunami that is looking directly or in front of the US. So what we should expect is that an important portion of the energy of the tsunami will be directed to this area, okay? And we should expect to see some moderate tsunami arriving to the United States. So as a recommendation to everyone, including me as a tsunami scientist, is to be far away from the coast, okay? We cannot go to the beach. We have to be very careful because this tsunami has energy and it can be damaging and it can be very dangerous to the people. So the most important recommendation is getting far away from the coast, okay? And just try to observe from our homes what is going on at the coast.
And again, we should reiterate the good news: no deaths or injuries reported so far for the United States. We're going to hear more from a Charlotte family that's currently in Hawaii.
Back here at home at 8:10 on WCNC Plus. 8 bills now law here in North Carolina after state lawmakers voted to overturn Governor Stein's recent vetoes. The new laws focus on stricter immigration crackdowns, looser gun rules, major changes to state energy policy, and a formal definition of gender to exclude transgender people. Later this morning, the House expected to override 3 more vetoes that would restrict DEI initiatives in state government. Supporters say these bills ensure fairness. Groups like the state NAACP are speaking out against them.
We are going backwards, and it is discouraging. It may discourage industry from wanting to come here if they're of that mindset. Remember what happened to Target, and it is still going on.
We'll be keeping our eye on Raleigh all morning long to find out when those House lawmakers meet to overturn the vetoes sometime today.
8:11 now. We're going to take some live pictures here from Maryland. That's the governor there, Wes Moore. He is actually going to be taking a private tour of the demolition work zone for the Francis Scott Key Bridge. The governor and several other elected officials are going to oversee some saw cutting and removal of the remaining bridge deck and the median barrier. You might remember it was back in March of 2024 when the ship Dolly was traveling out of the Baltimore harbor and experienced a loss of power, striking the southern pier and supporting the central truss. Of course, we remember that video of seeing the bridge fall there. But again, you're seeing some live pictures of the governor of Maryland getting ready to take that private tour as that demolition work continues.
Speaks to how slow this process is. You know, you're
sure.
talking about almost 18 months later, and they're still taking it down.
Demolition, yes.
This is not even the rebuilding process yet. It is a long, arduous process, and I'm sure the folks there in Baltimore are excited to get some progress.
For sure.
All right, 8:12 right now. Turning now to our nation's capital, where President Trump faces another tariff deadline. U.S. and Chinese negotiators ended 2 days of trade talks, but with no deal. It comes as the Federal Reserve meets today to consider interest rates. NBC's Alice Barr has details this morning.
In a big week for the economy, all eyes are on the Federal Reserve and a highly anticipated decision this afternoon on whether to cut interest rates, as President Trump has been pressing for to boost the economy. Though most analysts expect the Fed to hold rates steady, wary of the potential for inflation, with a sweeping new round of tariffs set to hit on Friday. The Yale Budget Lab says product stockpiles have delayed many price increases for now.
What importers were trying to do was try to kind of pull in as much as they could into the economy in order to have to avoid the fact that ultimately they are going to have to raise prices.
While also projecting the tariffs will raise roughly $3 trillion for the U.S. over a decade. President Trump pointing to progress in one of the biggest outstanding trade negotiations with China, as the Treasury Secretary wrapped up talks without a deal, but with a possible extension to keep tariffs from shooting back up.
Well, either approve it or not, but he felt very good about the meeting. Better than he felt yesterday.
The president saying he intends to meet with China's president by the end of the year, as more European leaders voice frustration over the deal reached this week, setting a 15% tariff on most goods entering the U.S. from the European Union.
Dass es nicht so bleibt, wie es bisher war.
The German chancellor saying the tariffs will hurt both the German and American economies, as the French prime minister slammed the deal as an act of submission.
Another key economic indicator coming on Friday, the July jobs report, with questions looming about the impact of the Trump administration's immigration crackdown and uncertainty over tariffs for U.S. businesses that import materials from abroad. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
We've all been caught off guard by them sunny skies in the middle of summer that suddenly turn stormy, then clear out just as fast.
WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm explains why pop-up storms happen and why they are so common throughout the Carolinas.
We've seen it again and again. One neighborhood is enjoying a hot, sunny day while, in a snap of a finger, the next neighborhood over suddenly goes from sunny skies to a torrential downpour. So why do storms pop up at random places during hot summer afternoons and only last a few short minutes? Let's raise your weather IQ. It all comes down to something called differential heating, and it's a big deal here in the Carolinas. Differential heating means the Earth's surface heats unevenly. For example, roads, parking lots, and rooftops absorb heat quickly and get much hotter than shady areas in water, which heat slower and stay cooler during the day. So while a blacktop parking lot might heat up to 110 degrees, a shaded nearby lawn could be closer to 90 degrees at the exact same time. This differential heating creates hot spots where these hotter surfaces warm the air directly above them. That air starts to rise, especially if it's humid. And speaking of humidity, it's one of the most important ingredients in the recipe for pop-up storms. Humidity measures how much water vapor is in the air. On humid days, there's a lot of moisture available in the atmosphere that is fuel for thunderstorm development. Next thing you know, puffy cumulus clouds can quickly grow into towering storm clouds, and boom, you get a pop-up thunderstorm. These storms develop fast. They can bring dangerous lightning, gusty winds, hail, and even isolated flooding because of how heavy the rain is coming down. While the storms can be fierce, they don't usually last long. This is because pop-up storms are single-cell thunderstorms. They form, peak, and fall apart on their own since they don't have extra energy feeding into them. So here's the bottom line. In the Carolinas, if it's hot and humid, don't always trust that sunshine. Those pop-up storms can seem random, but they never come without reason. With your Weather IQ, I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm.
Excellent job, Majestic. And what do you know? She's right. It does happen all the time, and it's popping up again today. And our surface map is really showing a tale that we have an even better chance for more of these, but things might be a little bit more organized heading into Friday. Friday, we don't really have a big risk for severe storms. Instead, it's training rain. It's one storm after another, heavier downpours that could compile to some flash flooding. So something that we have to watch, especially what's been happening this year. It's been a record year for flash flood warnings across the United States. And this little trough is going to be firing up some storms today. Once this front gets a little bit closer on Thursday, it brings another round of storms. And then eventually, this front is going to slide its way down towards the south, and it's going to stall out. This is a stationary front, or a quasi-stationary front that's barely moving. It's also going to lock the clouds in place compared to what we're going to see on Sunday. Eventually, it's going to erode. It'll start to move, and then we're even going to have a nice little dip in the dew points. That's going to bring us near the comfortable range. Really, it's feeling sticky instead of overly muggy for your Sunday and Monday. Things will be right back to normal by about Wednesday. But today, tomorrow, and Friday, each day gets a little bit more humid. It's going to be noticeably uncomfortable on Friday. So that's that prime storm fuel that could really lead to some vast rain rates, and it's almost tropical air that's going to be joining us before that front passes through. That's why the next 3 days we also have an elevated rain threat. Then it's back down to the isolated pop-up showers and thunderstorms based on the daytime heating, but since the moisture level isn't as high, we don't really have the prime storm fuel. So moving on to our futurecast, I can show you here, general chance for thunderstorms starts as early as 11 o'clock, just like yesterday. Pop-up showers and thunderstorms becoming a little bit more scattered and numerous by the late afternoon heading into the evening, and then they stop. Then tomorrow morning, I think we start off with more fog, just as what we had, and then here comes more storms, starting in the foothills and the mountains. This is a little bit more typical for what we usually see around this year, and it pops up in the mountains first because it's a little bit higher up, so it first develops there, and then it slides down the mountains, becoming scattered right around the evening commute before it winds down through the evening. And then your Friday, it's a little bit slower moving, so watch what happens. This line of showers and thunderstorms isn't like what we just saw. It's a little bit more organized. And if you get a cluster of storms like this, that's producing some very heavy rain rates. It's going to have some gusty winds, so I'm not disregarding the severe potential by any stretch of the imagination, just letting you know that it's not the focal point here. It's any one of these storms that could train one after another that we're really going to have the issue here, and then things eventually start to wind down through the overnight. So our excessive rain impacts, or our flash flood risk, Wednesday, Thursday is low, but then by Friday, we have all the rain that we're going to be seeing, what we saw yesterday, today, and tomorrow, that could elevate your flood threat from place to place. So that's why it's a moderate explanation there. As far as our training storms go, here's how it happens. What happens is you have something called the cold pool, because when it rains, it gets cooler. That evaporation is called evaporative cooling, cools the air, and then oftentimes that can flow out from a thunderstorm. Many times you probably feel the winds pick up, it's a cooler breeze. That's the physical outflow boundary here that can form new storms. But oftentimes one storm can form after another in this type of setup. So once you get one after another, that's where it's going to elevate your flood threat. And we're even seeing the chance of that, especially for your Friday. So that's the only reason why we have a weather alert then. Once this front passes, though, it's feeling more like September. Saturday, 79 is actually more like September 28th, and September 2nd is where we have a typical low of 66 degrees. Love that cooler, crisper air that's on the way. So again, weather alert for the back half of your Friday. Nothing to worry about for the first half and for the morning. We shouldn't really have any rain at that point. And then a nice little cool down, nice little adjustment. So the second to third day of August feeling more like the early to latter part of September. Temperatures eventually getting back to 90 degrees, but that really doesn't happen until late next week. Enjoy the break. We deserve it, Majestic.
Definitely do. We're all ready for it, at least most of us, after that long stretch of heat and humidity. Live look outside. If you are heading outside today, traveling, it's not too bad. There's I-85 there up towards Graham Street. We did have an accident just about 5 to 10 minutes ago, but that has since been cleared, so no more problems out that direction. A couple of things I want to let you know about, though. We do still have this ongoing problem. It's a left lane. It's blocked because of a crash on I-485. Northbound lanes being impacted here right before exit 4. That's Steel Creek Road. So you can see that back up here. You can still get through. It's just going to slow you down a few minutes. Otherwise, we're seeing our typical slowdowns along I-77, I-85 coming in from Gastonia. We do have this one lane that's still blocked because of a stalled vehicle at this point. It's on Brookshire Freeway southbound at exit 4. Big picture view you can see as we take it on just south of Charlotte. I-485 out towards Matthews, Providence, Pineville, not too bad. I-77 coming in from Fort Mill looks okay. Once you get a little closer to Uptown, of course, that's where we are starting to see those typical backups. Again, this is what I'm watching for now. We'll have another check on those area roadways all coming up here shortly.
At the Surrey Sprinkle, time for today's tiny town happens to be Red Cross, North Carolina. That would be southeast of Concord, just to the southwest of Albemarle. It is in Stanley County, and right there at the intersection of 205 and 24. Now, back before those highways were paved, it was nothing but red clay. So at the crossing, Red Cross, that's why it's named that. And the facts on Red Cross over in Stanley County: population 762, square miles 3.73. So our tiny town today is Red Cross in Stanley County. I'm Larry Sprinkle.
Well, the Carolina Panthers getting ready to hit the practice field again this morning. Training camps have been very competitive, especially on defense.
Our Danielle Stein talked one-on-one with the rookie linebacker Princely Uman-Malin.
Came out on the first day, made a big play that got a lot of people's heads turning when you had that strip sack on Bryce Young. Did you come into camp with that mentality that you wanted to just make your mark really quick?
Yeah, for sure. I always have big expectations for myself, like from the goals I had set for myself in college to now. I've always just wanted to always do big things, you know what I'm saying?
Even from draft night, I listened back to your calls with Dan Morgan, Dave Canales. You said, what took you so long? And in a couple years, you're going to want to break your pockets. Yeah. Where does this confidence come from?
I don't know, man. I think it comes from my God-given ability, you know what I'm saying? And just having confidence in my game and just going out there and putting my product and putting the work in. I think that's where it comes from, just putting the work in and God.
Has that always been part of you since you were in high school and college, between your time at Florida and then at Ole Miss? Or?
To be honest, I wouldn't say so. I would say it probably came to me around my freshman year of college when I got to college, and I realized, like, my first day of practicing, I was like going crazy, and I just realized what type of talent I had. I guess that's when it started.
It seems like the fans, though, are taking a liking to the energy that you're bringing. There's another famous Panther who had a pretty good aura, Cam Newton, and you were defending him the other day. What about Cam's personality and persona on the football field do you like that maybe you want to take into your own game?
Man, Cam was just a natural leader, and he just pulled in the fans. He just like me, he acts like he's a human being, you know what I'm saying? A lot of football players are just famous people in general, you know, are always standoffish when it comes to the fans and like behind the scenes, but you know, he interacts with everyone, and he's just a leader, and I just think he's one of the greatest to ever do it.
There is much more of Danielle's conversation with Princely and other players from training camp.
You can find that coverage right here on WCNC Plus, also on the WCNC Charlotte mobile app.
8:24 right now, live pictures over our uptown skyline right now. Stand by, more news, weather, and breaking news coming your way right here on WCNC Charlotte Plus.
Good morning, everybody. We have some morning sunshine. Some of us are still burning off that fog. 79 degrees actually feels more like 82, so let the heat index begin. Could still feel as much as 100 degrees today, even though our high temperatures are only in the lower 90s, so just a tick cooler than what we had yesterday. And our futurecast also showing that storms could develop as early as 11 o'clock. I think that they're isolated really between about 11 and 2, between about 2 and 6. They start to build, turning scattered throughout the afternoon, heading into the evening. So kind of luck of the draw if you're going to see rain or not. Same thing goes for tomorrow, but more likely as you work your way to the late afternoon on Friday, heading in the evening as a cold front arrives. Guess what that cold front's going to do? Cool us down. 92 on Friday, 79 on Saturday. It's overall going to be an overcast day, but it's going to feel all the world difference, feeling more like September. 66, also a cool start on Sunday. Back into the 80s on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and then later next week we should be back to around 90 degrees. Let's get over to Majestic. How are you doing? What's traffic looking like?
Good morning, everyone. Well, it's a beautiful start to the day, so we'll take that. A nice start to our Wednesday live look outside. You can see York County looking fantastic. I-77 moving along just fine. We do have a couple of things I want to let you know about. This crash right here is backing people's morning commute up. We do have the left lane that's currently blocked because of a crash on I-485, the northbound lanes right before exit 4, that's Still Creek Road. In addition to that, this right here is our newest crash. It's on South Boulevard at Tyvola Road. We'll have more coming up on WCNC Plus in just a couple of minutes. Hope to see you over there soon.
You're streaming live on WCNC Plus at 8:30 on this 30th day of July. I'm Lisa Washington.
And I'm Ben Thompson. Let's go to live pictures right now from the West Coast. This is Marina Del Rey near Los Angeles, where people are at this point breathing a little easier this morning. The National Weather Service now downgrading that tsunami warning that lasted all night into this morning. As we mentioned, the National Weather Service now downgrading that tsunami warning, triggered by what was a powerful 8.8 magnitude earthquake that rocked Russia. It's one of, by the way, the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded.
We're going to take a look at some video now. This is from Hawaii yesterday, showing the traffic jam as people were leaving their homes and businesses. Officials reported waves of nearly 6 feet with warnings that they could get larger over the next several hours. We actually talked to a Charlotte family that's in Hawaii right now. They described the moments those tsunami sirens went off.
Everyone is on the road right now. We're just trying to get back to our hotel. We're on like the 11th floor. So we should be good. The waves don't seem like they're going to be too powerful, but we really have no idea. But the roads are really crazy right now. Everyone's on the roads. So in the past like 20 minutes, we moved 0.4 miles. It is, let me see, can I flip the camera on a zoom? Is that a thing?
Yes.
Yeah. It is backed up. It is Like, the traffic is really crazy here.
Tell us about when you found out about this alert and what was going through your mind when you realized you're here on vacation, but something serious is potentially going to happen.
So we were on the north shore of Oahu, like literally at the beach, and then we all got the iPhone alarms, like they sounded the noise and everything, and we just got in the car and it said tsunami warning, and then we looked at the news, we saw it was going to be here by 7, so we just decided let's go back to our hotel and get up to like some safe high ground.
But have you gotten any official guidance, such as, contact from your hotel itself or emergency officials out there saying maybe you need to go somewhere else?
I don't know about any like direct contact from the hotel, but we have heard emergency sirens going off. I think they said they're going to play sirens every hour. So 4:10, they played a siren like outside the window. I could hear it super loudly. And then they'll play one at 5:10, 6:10, and then 7:10 is when they expect the tsunami waves to hit. So they'll keep it going every hour to just continue to warn the citizens.
We should add that as of right now, no reports of any major damage with it. Of course, we'll continue to keep a watch on that. Right now, though, we are going to go back to Baltimore. We were telling you Maryland Governor Wes Moore, they're expected to take a tour of the demolition work for the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Let's listen in to what the governor is saying.
I want to join the governor in thanking all the men and women who are part of this construction effort to replace the Key Bridge. We all remember where we were when this bridge collapsed. We remember the 6 lives lost. We remember the heroism. We also remember the resolve, first of all, the governor's team and the federal delegation and everybody to open the port, and then the determination to make sure we rebuild this bridge. And I'm pleased to be joined also by members of the federal delegation. You see here Johnny Olszewski, who was county executive at the time, Sarah Elfreth, Angela Alsterbrooks couldn't be here for another reason, and Congressman Mfume. This is to your question on the funding. We immediately introduced legislation called the Bridge Act, which provided full federal funding for the replacement of the Key Bridge. It took some time. We were all pushing very hard, but we were able to get it over the finish line. Senator Cardin was in the Senate as my partner at the time, Congressman Mfume in the House, and that is secure funds. We put the funds earmarked essentially within what's called the Emergency Relief Fund, and we increased the federal emergency relief fund to $8 billion. So those funds are set in stone, they're set in statute, and I'm glad that they also give this project and everybody involved the certainty that those monies will be there as they need them.
Governor Moore, we know that the NTSB came out with its assessment, and one of the issues was they said that Maryland transportation officials did not do an updated risk assessment. What has been done after action to look at what didn't happen and what can be changed in the future?
Well, one thing we saw from the report was that this bridge was completely up to code, as is every single Maryland bridge is completely up to code. But we also know that there were important lessons learned that we have from this, and then after the tragedy of the Key Bridge, and to be clear, the tragedy of the Key Bridge happened because we had a ship that was the size of 3 football fields that plowed into a bridge that even the former Secretary of Transportation has indicated that there is hardly a structure in the country that could have survived that kind of impact and that kind of size. And so, of course, we are now taking active actions, and we have put millions of dollars from a state perspective around protection of our bridges. But every single bridge in the state of Maryland is up to code, and we are making sure that every single person knows there is safety in traveling around Maryland's roadways.
And talk about the significance against a year later, 6 lives were lost, but really the progress that's been done to rebuild this and just the lives of those families.
You know, I know I speak for everybody here that seeing it from this perspective is breathtaking, because we have been to this area on countless occasions by a boat, but understanding what happened that night, understanding what it was like in the moments for the last moments of the 6 individuals that we lost, seeing the height that this bridge is at and the enormity of this bridge. This is nearly a 2-mile long bridge. This was a bridge that when it was first constructed, it took nearly 5 years just for the permitting and design to get done. And so to now be here at a time where a little over a year after this horrific tragedy, that we are now already, not just in the demo phase, but planning on the construction phase starting later on this year. Considering the size of this bridge, considering how long a bridge of this type normally takes, not only I think for each and every one of us, we're saying a special prayer for those families right now, just seeing it and experiencing it from this angle and perspective, but also a deep degree of thanks for all the hard-working men and women who have been here literally since last March, making sure that we can get this bridge rebuilt and making sure that we can restore something that is incredibly important to people, not just in the Baltimore region, but around the state.
Last question. You just talked about all the bridges and said that they were up to code, but there were some concerns regarding the Bay Bridge. Are there any plans to make any upgrades or changes to the Bay Bridge to ensure safety?
Well, there's been a planning and evaluation process that's been taking place for the Key Bridge long before our administration even came on board. That has been a long-standing evaluation and project that's then taking place. But the Bay Bridge is up to code. People should not think that the Bay Bridge is not a safe bridge to travel on. There is not a platform or a roadway that we would deem unsafe that we would then still allow Marylanders to use. And so while there has been long time research and evaluation that's been taking place long before our administration came on board, the Bay Bridge is a safe bridge for people to travel on.
Thank you guys. Thank you very much. That's all I have time for today.
You've been listening to Governor Wes Moore there, along with Senator Chris Van Hollen there, as they tour part of the demolition process happening there at the Key Bridge in Maryland, some 16 months after it collapsed into the bay there. Again, this is just part of the demolition process. It's still a long way off from
very
the
long process
reconstruction.
To rebuild that bridge for sure. But you heard the governor saying that the bridges in Maryland are up to code, and of course they're going to take all the necessary precautions and appropriate steps when rebuilding the Francis Scott Key Bridge.
I feel like that story when that happened, because I remember the morning was one of the more jaw-dropping like live stream videos I've ever seen, because the camera was right on the bridge watching it collapse. And as he mentioned, there's only certain things you can do. You can build everything up to code. You can build the best bridge there is as far as engineering is concerned. But just the point of impact or something like that, there's only certain things are going to fall.
You can't anticipate a barge
No,
crashing into a bridge. All right, how about the forecast? We're getting some better news than what we've had. I'm trying to be optimistic, and then big changes for the weekend.
Now, I'm really excited about this. Even though you might see more clouds on Saturday, who cares? You're looking at a high of 79. Is that right? 79.
You know what I'm going to say, and you've never heard me say this before. Not every Saturday in summer has to be a pool day.
Exactly.
Ooh,
yes, it is true.
That's a hard take, Ben.
I like that.
I know. You heard it here first.
Yeah, all right, put that on social media on a bumper sticker, right? No, because seriously though, and I think that is actually a good testament, because oftentimes during the summertime it's like, I gotta go. This gives you an excuse to be lazy maybe a little bit for at least the first half of the day, and then get whatever done you need to do. You're looking at a decent amount of sunshine here over in Lylesville, some of that fog burning off, and then really it's a delightful start to the day. But we do see some rain down towards the south. Eventually we're going to see some more of these showers develop from the southeast and the northwest, and eventually they converge over the Charlotte area. Yesterday we saw a storm starting to develop right around 11. I think we're going to see the same time frame for today. But here's the big change that we're looking at the forecast. A trough down to the south that's still an area of low pressure is driving up storms today. Once the actual low pressure system gets a little bit close to us on Thursday, I think that we see a little bit more widespread storms, a little bit more scattered. And then once the actual front passes us, that's going to be our best chance for slow moving training storms heading into your Saturday morning. And then we just are stuck with these clouds. This is a classic what's called cold air damming setup. So that's allowing winds out of the northeast, all the moisture and the cloud covers backed up against the mountains. So it takes a while until a high pressure system eventually can move in that's going to allow that sunshine to return, and we will eventually see it. But then once we get that front to move out of the way, get the high pressure system to drag in some cooler and drier air, we're expecting it to only be sticky, borderline sticky on a Sunday and Monday. So that's going to be a nice little change. Not as great as we were feeling last Wednesday, but hey, we're splitting hairs. That also proves that we're going to have a more humid environment today, tomorrow, and heading into your Friday. So even though our high temperatures are not at 100 degrees, not in the upper 90s, right around 90 degrees with how humid it's going to be. It still could feel like 100 degrees at one point each afternoon. But by Friday, I think the best chance for rain is really starting to embark heading into the evening. So let's go through all the different rain chances. As I mentioned, late morning, we will have a chance for a couple of storms here on the map. These will start to grow big time as you work your way through the afternoon. And then heading in the evening, we'll start to see them wind down right around sunset. And then we rinse and repeat. We're going to see constant storm chances over the coming days. These are tough to track, but it does look like Thursday is the best chance after 2 o'clock. 2 to about 7 to 8 is where we have most of the storms passing, and then we'll see that yet again heading into your Friday. But each day we'll have a chance for some flash flooding. But by Friday, especially for the rain that we saw yesterday, over the next couple of days, that could compound for an elevated flood risk. So that's why the entire area has a medium threshold for that, because you're going to have the classic setup for what's called training storms. The outflow, that breeze that comes out from thunderstorms, could form a new train of storms, one after another. So just keep that in mind, and that's also why we are weather alert for the back half of your Friday for that potential. Once that front dips down to the south, it is cloudier, lack of sunshine, keeping us mainly in the 70s for your Saturday, before we start to climb back through the 80s heading into next week. By the way, these highs are more typical for September compared to August. So enjoy the nice little change. An absolute treat. A false fall, but hey, we'll take it. Majestic, what's going on for your traffic?
All right, good morning, everyone. It is beautiful still outside as we're heading into our Wednesday morning. It is 8:43 now, so maybe you're heading out for your morning time walk, or you're hitting the roads because you have places to be. You got things to do. Most of us seeing some sunshine out there by this point. I-77 here coming in from York County looks all right. Want to highlight a few things that I do have my eyes on for you, though. This one here, it's our first crash. It's on South Boulevard in Tyvola Road. Still noticing a lot of green right around it, so not being majorly impacted. Although if you're taking I-77 inbound, well, it's a whole different story with that stop and go traffic as people are all heading in the same direction. Another accident just popping up. It's on Circle Green Drive out near Lake Wiley. Minimal impacts again with that one. And one stalled vehicle still. The left lane is blocked because of it. It's on Brookshire Freeway southbound at exit 4. So we'll keep a close eye on that, seeing some small minor impacts with that. Another stalled vehicle. This time it takes you up to I-77, impacting southbound lanes at exit 25. That's Samford Road. Those are the things I'm watching for you right now. We'll have another check on those roads coming up here in a bit.
All right, Majestic, thanks. This morning, the group Action NC is urging folks to show up to today's Mecklenburg County Commission meeting. That's coming up in just a few hours. The board set to discuss the proposed 1-cent sales tax to fund future transit projects. But Action NC is calling for more transparency on the wording of the bill, saying it doesn't clearly state what the total sales tax would be or whether the tax would be permanent. Action NC believes the language that will appear on the November ballot is intentionally misleading to voters, saying in part, quote, the entire process seems contrived, dishonest, and downright unfair. Today's commission meeting starts at noon there in the Government Center uptown.
Happening today, neighbors in Sugar Creek are going to gather for a community town hall. They're calling on local leaders to step up and address the crime, drugs, and prostitution they say have plagued the area for years. Now, this is video from a rally along Sugar Creek Road earlier this month. We spoke with organizers who say their frustration is running high and they're tired of seeing their streets overrun with crime and neglect.
You know, we understand that mental illness is a problem in our city. We understand that homelessness is a problem in our city, but you were right in somebody's backyard, and we just can't have it.
In an effort to curb crime, Charlotte's Mayor Pro Tem tells us they've added cameras, lighting, sidewalks, even shut down a few hotels. Tonight's town hall is happening at the Sugar Creek Rec Center at 6 o'clock.
Well, students in South Carolina are just days away from heading back to school. In Clover, teachers just got back together for their convocation, and they say they are excited for this new school year.
I sat down with the superintendent, Dr. Sheila Quinn, to hear about the benefits they offer teachers in order to recruit and to retain them. Clover did what hadn't been done in the county with the starting salary of $50,000 for teachers. That speaks volumes. I know it's not a one-person effort, but also with retaining teachers, with recruiting teachers, when they see that $50,000, I mean, that's some money.
That is, and it's certainly something we'd like to continue to grow on. We have an initiative called Destination District. We want to be a place where people want to come, and so from a recruitment standpoint, but more importantly, they want to stay. So that move was a part of our Destination District initiative. We also did pay raises for all of the other job categories as well. So everybody got a little bit. We did focus more heavily on our teachers that year, and it's something that our board would like to continue to do over time.
How does this school year look as far as like staffing positions with teachers, other staff?
We're almost fully staffed. We have a couple of special ed positions that we're still trying to interview for, but we really do benefit from our location at the top of the state. We can recruit out of Gaston. We can sometimes recruit out of Charlotte when teachers retire and want to come and still work. So that's a solution for us to be on the border. And we get a lot of from Winthrop and a lot of the in-state colleges that teachers want to move up and be around Charlotte. So we tend to be a district they look at.
Is that the biggest challenge? Was it, recruiting teachers? Like, what are some of the biggest challenges?
We've done pretty well on the recruitment side. I can honestly tell you that the retention side is really where we need to focus now. Because again, teachers have options, they move, they get married, they have their own families, and so we really have to work hard to keep the incentives in place that will keep them. So for example, our teachers can bring their children here to work, to school here, so that when they come to work, their children can come to work. We have the largest 4K program in the area, so we have over 320 full-day 4K children.
Wow.
So every school has 2 to 4 pre-K classes, and that's a benefit when your children can start in pre-K. We really work hard. We hire more teacher assistants than any district around us, which there's secret sauce in that. When you have support and help as a teacher, you're not alone in the classroom, that's an incentive to keep working here.
This is Dr. Quinn's 8th year as a superintendent. She says this is her 34th back to school. We also talked about AI in the classroom, growth in the Clover District, and parent involvement. And you can catch that full interview coming up on our live Impact News right here on WCNC Plus in about 12 minutes starting at 9. Also, a reminder that the school year is just around the corner, and unfortunately, many students start without the supplies they need. That's why we're partnering with United Way for a back to school supply drive. You can scan that QR code that you see on your screen to donate, or just go to our website, WCNC.com/community. You can donate until August 11th.
We are learning more this morning about efforts to contain a TB case in Avery County. Yesterday we told you health officials believe upwards of 100 people could have been exposed. Right here on WCNC Plus, our colleague Vanessa Rufus spoke with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services about what typically comes next.
TB can be so dangerous. We do take it very seriously when we have an active case, and we talk to that individual about where they've been, who they've spent time with, and identify those people who have spent a significant amount of time with them during their infectious period. And because the symptoms of TB can be very similar to the symptoms of other respiratory conditions, sometimes people can be sick for a while before they get diagnosed, and this can lead to a lot of exposures.
You can watch that entire conversation right here on WCNC Plus.
With the hot weather that we're experiencing, one thing that you hear often, people saying, make sure you drink enough water.
So some folks want to know, can you drink too much water? WCNC Charlotte's Megan Bragg verifies.
Most of us have heard we should drink 8 glasses of water a day. With this heat, is that enough water, and can you hydrate too much? Let's verify. Our source is cardiologist Dr. Pyle Coley and the Mayo Clinic. According to the Mayo Clinic, water makes up about 50 to 70% of our body weight. Water also keeps your temperature normal, lubricates and cushions joints, and protects sensitive tissue. But Dr. Coley says many may not need the traditional 8 glasses.
Every day should not necessarily be the same amount. It should be adjusted up and down based on what you're doing.
So where does the standard 8 glasses of water come from?
That 8 glasses of water came from the fact that, based on a 2,000 calorie diet, for about every calorie that you consume, you need about 1 milliliter of water. That's about 2 liters or about 8 glasses.
Coley says the best way to tell if you're getting enough water in your system is the color of your urine.
It should be very light color. If it's starting to get dark yellow, that means you're not drinking enough.
It also depends on your activity level and if you are in a warm environment. The Mayo Clinic states most healthy people stay hydrated by drinking water and other fluids whenever they feel thirsty. For some people, fewer than 8 glasses a day might be enough, but others may need more. Dr. Coley says you can actually get water poisoning if you drink too much.
You drink so much water that you dilute out the salt in your blood.
With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
All right, 8:51 now. Let's check back in with Chris to find out more about our weather for this week with things changing. And it's going to be feeling, I don't want to say cool, but definitely not as hot as what we've been experiencing.
Oh, definitely better, because today and tomorrow are really near the normal. The normal high should be about 90 degrees. And the showers and storms pretty much take yesterday and move it on to today. Yesterday we did hit a 94. I think today we're mainly in the 80s, with some of us that don't see as many storms getting up to about 90 to 92. And then Friday we have a better chance for flooding, and then also the big changes, as we mentioned, to kick off the month. Check out last weekend compared to what we have this weekend. So the last weekend of July, 101 and 102, and I went back and looked at the last time that we had back-to-back days during a weekend at 100 plus. It was 2012. So we hadn't had a weekend that hot in 13 years. Meanwhile, this weekend for your August 2nd, which is my mom's birthday, by the way, so happy early birthday, Mom. And then 82 degrees on August 3rd, Sunday. That is insane. These are actually highs that are more typical for the month of September, where 79 degrees is actually more typical for September 28th. But I think what's most interesting is the lows. The lows dropping down to 66 degrees is going to feel cool, and it's actually going to be a much drier environment, where I'm really excited about how we're going to feel by the back end of the weekend. So feeling more like September heading through the weekend. And just note that your Saturday might not be the prettiest day, but as Ben had said, not every summer day needs to be a pool day. We're embracing that. And going forward, we're also going to be looking at a chance for storms over the next 3 days. That's going to lead to an elevated flood threat. But also today, if you do not want to go outside, it's National Cheesecake Day, National Share a Hug Day, and National Paperback Book Day. Something that maybe you want to wait until Saturday to do, because we don't have a lot of sunshine. We do also have an elevated flood risk as we work our way into the weekend. That is mainly for late day on Friday. Friday and Friday night, we have a chance for training storms, so keep that in mind. Chance for flooding each day, but it's especially high during that frame for a week cool down. Let's head over to Majestic for one more look at traffic. We're here on WCNC Plus.
Good morning, everyone. Well, here's a live look outside. You can see people are up and at 'em starting their day. This is I-85 here. You can see a lot of people definitely out on those roads now. I-77 here at York County. Sunny skies, looking great. For the most part, our map isn't too bad as far as any major concerns, but we do have a few small ongoing crashes. This one here on South Boulevard and Tyvola Road, still seeing mainly green around it, so at least we know it's not jam-packing that area roadway. Another one here out near Lake Wiley. It's on Circle Green Drive. It's more of a residential area. What we're also watching is this stalled vehicle. It's still not cleared. It's blocking a lane because of it. It's on the Brookshire Freeway, impacting southbound lanes at exit 4. And then a final one taking you up to I-77. Another stalled vehicle blocking the lane. That's I-77 at exit 25, which is Sam Fur Road.
All right, Jesse, thanks. Live pictures right now inside our Live Impacts stream studio. Jane Monreal on your bottom left, getting ready to take over the reins. Coming up at 9 a.m. She's going to be talking with the Better Business Bureau about back-to-school scams. She'll also have the latest on that tsunami and breaking events as they happen from around the globe. Keep it right here on WCNC Plus.
Well, good morning, everybody. Rain chances as early as 11 a.m. today. We're going to have on and off showers and storms possible through the afternoon. So just like yesterday, at any given point, you could have a storm heading into the evening. High temperatures right around 90 to 92, but we could have as much as a 100-degree heat index. So keep that in mind because it's still going to be quite humid. I think that mugginess is going to build through your Friday. Friday, actually, the back half of it, we're going weather alert for a flooding potential. So that's going to build over the next 3 days. But once a front clears, more clouds on Saturday. Only a high of 79 and then the 80s after that. Majestic, take it away.
All right, let's get to it. Hey, if you're heading out the door this morning, boy, it's beautiful outside. Enjoy the sunshine while it lasts. A couple of things to let you know about. This is I-77 coming in from York County. We're not seeing any significant slowdowns on our interstate, so at least we have that going for us. A couple of smaller wrecks, though. This one here is on South Boulevard and Tyvola Road. Not seeing any major concerns with it, but another one just popped up. It's on East Boulevard at Maryland Ave, so make sure you're careful there. Another one here, the lane is blocked because of a stalled vehicle on Brookshire Freeway and exit 4. Have a great day.